English, of course, Polish, Italian, and German, and it all happens at the same time. It's all happening around now, so I think I have a first-hand experience, so at least to feel how it's done, so that I really feel the backstage of the process. I mean, how can I motivate myself? How do I set goals in uplifting this or that level of this or that language, etc. And also I'm a teacher at a university. So I teach most of the second year students, philology departments, they're English learners. Most of them are international crowds of people. They don't speak Russian since it's my native language. So I just teach English in English. All right, let's move on. The agenda of my presentation today includes introduction, requirements of so-called today's VUCA world. I'll tell about it in a second. Theoretical foundations of coaching approach, types of language coaching, some practical tools. You will find them useful for yourselves as teachers and learners, and some findings of our research, however, very, very preliminary findings. And I'm glad I have both teachers and learners here, because both of you, I hope, will benefit from this presentation. Teachers will probably learn a little bit about coaching within a language classroom, and learners will grab some tools for self-motivation and goal setting in languages and just in well-being in life. Okay, the main question of my presentation today: how many language educators and language students, by the way, ever considered that they are not only fostering language acquisition processes in the classroom, but also they empower language learners and empower themselves as human beings? So my main thesis statement is that a foreign language classroom is a great environment for your self-growth as a teacher or as a learner, as a human being, for self-empowerment. The main thesis, again, focuses on using a coaching approach within the language teaching framework. And the main argument is that coaching approach in language teaching and learning fosters students' ownership of their learning process and motivates them to shape their personal goals in language acquisition and in life, and engineer the steps on the road of progress towards self-leadership and well-being in general. Language coaching can expand the repertoire of approaches available for language education in the 21st century. Like we all know of communicative approach to language teaching, project-based approach, etc. So language coaching approach is just another approach which is worth taking a look at. As teachers and as learners, as students, we all deal with, especially at the university where I teach, I still deal with teachers who teach me, and they implement frontal, less collaborative, book-based, written materials-based teaching model when the teacher is like a boss and he or she leads the process towards me as a passive learner. So I'm just sitting there listening to a lecture. However, I'm not dismissing any of those approaches because they're all necessary at some point. We all have to study grammar. We all have to do the drills, you know. However, if only traditional methods in language teaching and learning are applied, the outcome is, as you see in the picture, an HR is trying to hire, let's say, a student who's just graduated from, let's say, from language university. She's saying, I see you did well in school, but what real world skills do you have? Tests, I can take tests. I think this is quite loud, sorry. This is quite reflective of the situation. Because nowadays students are different. You're all students, right? In which way? Language learners are different. We are all exposed to internet. We try to build our emotional intelligence and connection to people. We deal with social pressure from early childhood when parents are trying to push us to take extra courses. We are socially connected. We are free to share our opinions online. So we expect to be appreciated for what we do because we live in a culture of likes. This is, by the way, my language group, one of them. And this is a very culturally diverse group. It involves different age groups as well. So actually, initially, language learners nowadays are smart as is. So I am okay, you're okay. This is a coaching notion when we have to treat students like at the level that they are already smart. However, let's take it the world now. So we have taken a look at modern students, now the world. Since I'm still facing simple world teaching methods at my own university towards myself, they're still using, some of the teachers are still using, let's say, simple world solutions and methods, which were developed in the industrial era when people were used to and adjusted to top-down learning and teaching. So the teachers were more like, I tell you what to do so that I prepare you for the boss later on, who will also tell you what to do. It was like factory-based approach, right? However, today the world is completely different due to diversity, internet, and etc. And coaching operates the term of VUCA, which boils down to volatility, which is rapid and unexpected challenges, uncertainty. We have to deal with pending change, to know the unknowns, ambiguity, too many unknowns, and complexity, multiple key decision factors. So this is a complex world. It all boils down to, hey, it's crazy out there. According to Harvard Business Review, that's how they describe VUCA world. However, what coaching does as a discipline, it reverses challenges into opportunities. So volatility is reversed back into vision, U is reversed to understanding, C into clarity, and A into agility. This is the basic principle of coaching. As a human being, we need to face the real world, not just by acknowledging challenges, but by being prepared how to deal with them. And there is another research based on the main reference of my presentation today. It's a book called Language Coaching Approach by Gabriela Kovac. This is the best book ever on language coaching. I will show it later. And she came up with a research. Nowadays, there is a set of global self-leadership skills, which is expected from, let's say, from a successful human being to be possessed and to have and to pave his or her way towards well-being beyond the classroom. So this is a, what's that? Yeah, I thought I had a question at this point. This is a continuation of VUCA skills, but more based on the contemporary research. The name of the paper, Global Skills Position Papers, Creating Empowered 21st Century Learners. So as the outcome of your learning, oops, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, I'm going back to this. There you go. As you graduate from a language school or a university or whatever, it's okay to possess a global, modern, contemporary skill set, which Kovac divided into 4 main parts: self-management cluster, and I would like to pay your attention to like active learning. So as a human being, you are supposed to be actively involved in the environment around you, working environment, learning environment. Complex thinking skills cluster, which involves, like, let's say, high order cognitive skills, critical thinking, metacognition. Metacognition is, by the way, related to pure coaching, language coaching. It means that I am aware of what I know and what I do not know in my language acquisition process, and I know how, or I don't know how to deal with this and how to improve myself. So metacognition is important nowadays. Complex communication cluster, by the way, you can see here active listening, not just, you know, confidence, self-assurance like we used to have 10 years back, right? Now we have to reshape our mindset towards active listening, active learning. Then social emotional skills, emotional intelligence is important. So huge corporations are interested in hiring you, not just for, you know, technical skills, but should possess those emotional intelligence skills, feeling, recognizing your own feelings, recognizes the feelings of a person next to you, which is also important. Empathy is important. So the main question here is how to facilitate these skill sets acquisition within a language classroom as a teacher, or how could you, okay, you are facing different teachers nowadays, it's okay, this is just part of life. However, as a student or language learner, how could you yourself develop those skills in you? So this is the main question of this presentation as well. Now let's move on to coaching. And I'm using as a major reference from the side of coaching, I use a book by Gary McDaniel. He's an international coach for organizations, and well, he's a life coach as well. So according to his book, the main definition of coaching is unlocking people's position to maximize their own performance. So we could apply this definition to the skill set I have just mentioned above. We could unlock people's position to maximize their performance, to develop empathy, active listening, etc., to become a well-rounded human being. Okay, so what coaching deals with? It deals with our universal objective of coaching are to define goals, to determine why the goal is important, including languages, define how to span the gap between where the coachee or the learner is now and where they want to go to create practical strategies and techniques to help the coachee to attain their goals faster, build confidence, and minimize and eliminate anxieties. Think of a language classroom again. We could do all these things there. Explore and evaluate solutions to problems. Give the proper time to identify resources, how to replenish your own energy, how to find resources to proceed with your goals, and to develop sources of support. Identify your supportive environment. Also the secondary, or still the main goal of coaching is to bring out the best possible self of a person to enable his or her optimum learning, communication, and well-being outcomes. Why language classroom is a natural, positive, and fertile coaching environment, why you could easily implement well-being or life coaching tools in a language classroom. You're already doing it as language teachers, seriously. First, we talk about positive topics, travel, culture, music, fashion. These are all such inspiring topics already for people. And if students apply this new knowledge to their own personal lives, it will include goal setting, motivation, tackling the obstacles already. When we talk about uncomfortable topics within a language classroom, and we do, for example, human rights, our plastic planets, mental health, we foster critical thinking, metacognition, problem solving, leadership skill set application. And a lot of topics within a language classroom, think of Headway nowadays. It does include all this content, by the way. A lot of topics invoke self-reflection. At some point you talk about your childhood, right? About, again, your mental health, hardships in life. And a lot of assignments, let's switch over from content to assignments. A lot of assignments involve self-exposure in the classroom, in the language classroom. Let's say you need to present in front of the classroom, or for example, and you're being vulnerable about it, or maybe the topic is the one you're sensitive about. So language classroom enhances students' understanding of themselves and others. You need to be empathetic. It means when the teacher, for example, assigns some group work activity, mini group activities. So you do already train those skills like empathy or active listening. However, there are tools, and I'm going to talk about them, which could boost that in the language classroom. Okay, however, again, back to the point, I don't want at all means to dismiss the teaching, my teaching role, because I teach at my university, I teach various sub-disciplines related to English. For example, I teach speaking. I teach integrated skills class, which involves grammar, listening, writing, speaking, and I teach business English. So I do teach a lot of grammar. So when I'm a teacher, and I combine both roles within myself, when I'm a teacher, I mostly consider the problem, and I do provide quality solutions. For example, your kid sometimes asks you, hey, I need a solution. You don't always coach that kid, right? Like, hey, here is the path, do it yourself. As a mom, sometimes you give you the ready-made answers. When I'm a coach, I sharpen a person's or team's ability to frame and to solve problems on their own. When I'm a teacher, I'm concerned with the subject matter, right? Integrated skills, coursebook, and I have a dependent learner, right? He depends on my rendering of the information to him or her. As a coach, I'm concerned with the team's or individual's capabilities, and I face independent learners in my classroom. As a teacher, I share knowledge. I measure the development in language acquisition skills, right? Reading, learning, I grade them. Of course, I'm stressed to cover, I have this cover to cover course book syndrome, because for example, with my integrated skills class, I have curriculum to cover, I have a program, and I'm stressed about moving forward, you know, and this is called cover to cover syndrome. However, as a coach, I don't share knowledge, I draw the knowledge out, and I foster the learners. It's a term from educational science of education, the learner's subjectivity. When a learner is a subject, the doer, not a passive listener, right? And I have highlighted here causa sui. So I have a very nice colleague, and this is Gary's colleague. His name is Ilya Shmilov. He is also an international coach, and he has just completed a very nice master's thesis on implementing coaching in education. Okay, not in languages, but in education, all right? And he has been so kind as to share some stuff with me. And he operates the term, Latin term of causa sui, which means to be the cause of yourself, to be the cause of your life, to be the cause of why you acquire this or that language. So the doer, the subject, I really like it. However, what I am doing now, and Gary McDaniel as well, because he teaches business communication to philology department as well, I blend both roles, teaching and coaching. By blending both, you as a language educator create a favorable environment for both language acquisition and self-growth in your language classroom. Just briefly, I'm going to cover the theoretical foundation. I know we have like at least 3 teachers here, and you might want to learn some theoretical background. Like, is it really scientifically grounded or justified to use coaching approach in language teaching? So coaching, as we have already talked about it, it comprises the whole person, the whole well-rounded development of a human being, right? So it directly deals with holistic approach in languages, which again engages the whole person in the learning process. Coaching is directly connected to positive psychology and actually has roots in it. Every coach, I would say, knows it. And the goal of positive psychology is to positively impact the learner's life. So again, as a language teacher, you could positively affect the learner's life, or as a language learner, you can transform your life by learning languages, and I'm not kidding. Coaching is related to motivation theories, of course. We deal with motivating people, goal setting, and especially I'm interested in autonomous motivation. This is a full sense of volition and choice when a person, again, is a subject, the doer of his or her learning process. He or she owns the process. Also, motivation theories operate visualization of your best future self term or notion. And this is a coaching technique when we imagine or visualize the best version of ourselves in the future, and a lot of different little assignments are related to this. I'm going to talk about later. Obviously, coaching is related to project-based, task-based approaches in the language classroom. It's so easy to organize your classroom with a coaching approach. And then, like I mentioned before, when I'm in my coaching mode, I'm a relaxed female teacher. I'm just walking around the classroom, monitoring the progress, etc. So when people work in project teams together, coaching is related to self-directed learning. Again, you own the process, you're autonomous, you own your agency. Subjectivity and causes we have already mentioned before. You're the cause of your own learning. And coaching is easily related to classroom management. I will talk about it. It's related, by the way, to Scrivener. I think Anastasia knows, right? Scrivener classroom management techniques. How to organize your classroom so that everybody is engaged at the same time and no one is sitting, hiding behind the desk, you know. All right, and it's all positive. Now, types of coaching in a language classroom. We have discussed with Anastasia that in the coaching community, they operate 2 terms, language coach and lingua coach, right? So I do operate language coach, but you could be a language coach in at least 3 different dimensions. Now, the first type of language coaching is pure language coaching, as per the book, my main reference here, Gabriela Kovac. She provides a lot of tools for pure language coaching, so that you learn strategies how to become a better learner. You develop, with a coach, you develop learning paths, you develop different solutions, overcome obstacles, etc. In just dealing with the language itself. Then, second type, language coaching outside the classroom, when you, with your coach, for example, define a set of tools how to better learn outside the classroom without teachers or coaches' interference. The reference here is Barber. And number 3, this is our topic with Gary, blended language coaching, which involves life and well-being coaching tools implemented in the thread of the language classroom, because the two previous language approaches, language coaching approaches, don't really deal with, let's say, life coaching or well-being coaching tools in general. Let me dwell on pure language coaching. It could be organized both for individuals, teams, and groups. And if I personally think of a pure language coach, my first association in my mind's eye is Instagram language coaches, who deal a lot with, like, for example, CEOs of companies, front workers of the companies, professionals, etc. So you could coach a CEO, a manager, a top manager in languages, and well, normally it requires a lot of sessions. According to Gabriela Kovac, you start with a chemistry call so that you define with your client. And in this case, I mostly would be inclined to call the language learner a client if you're a language coach, really. So a client. So you first have a chemistry call to define whether you have chemistry together. The first intake session, when you define the goals, the obstacles, right, of your client. Core sessions, you develop the pathway, and follow-up sessions when you provide some feedback from your, get some feedback from your client and his growth, right? And again, normally it is needed when a person wants to personalize language learning paths, when he or she wants to work on his blocks. For example, she has attended multiple courses, but still is resilient to speak, right? Inhibitions. Or you could hire a pure language coach to prepare for a specific event. For example, you need to develop a presentation for a big audience, need to prepare for an exam. That's how, by the way, language coaching started. When a teacher or a professor was the first time called a coach, it happened actually in Cambridge and Oxford University in the 19th century, when a teacher or professor had to prepare a certain student for an exam. And at this point, he was called a language coach or a coach. A trip or even a new job. Okay, so how a language coach works, again, explores your motivation goals, evokes learning successes, disassembles beliefs and language and learning, disassembles, sorry, toxic beliefs about your, for example, failures in language learning. And he or she helps you to reach a deeper awareness. Let's move on, though. A pure language coach would be, or a Lingua coach, right, would be operating various coaching models, and you know all of them. I'm just going to mention one coaching model here. This model is called GROW, right, model, GROW. And this is a basic, by the way, life coaching model. When your coachee comes to you and he or she faces a lot of, challenges in life. So, and you help this person, your coachee, to identify goals, to identify where this person is now, reality, obstacles and options, and you elaborate or you develop an action plan, way forward. And in pure language coaching, this model could be applied easily. So you identify, for example, currently I am B1 in my German, right? Okay, I want to acquire B2. This is my goal. The reality, I'm not doing a lot because I'm too busy right now. And then I elaborate on my obstacles, right? I'm dealing with a lot of other languages currently, options and way forward. So a coach, a pure language coach, will help me to develop an action plan how to work with my German. Another type, I'm sorry for this snapshot, this was the only available snapshot of the book. And this type of coaching approach is called outside the classroom language coaching. elaborated by Daniel Barber and Duncan Ford. You might find this book interesting. It's called From English Teacher to Learner Coach. And this book is a handbook. It provides a set of practical everyday activities which a coach could suggest to his coachee, stuff to do on a regular basis. For example, to read English magazines, books, websites, to watch TV, listen to songs, talking English in English at work or elsewhere, participating in a blog or forum. And you're not just doing those activities, but you provide some feedback to your coach by filling in such feedback charts, like how many days or minutes a week, how, when, etc. So this is not a home assignment, for God's sake. This is not, again, something like a teacher would assign his student. It is a coaching assignment. It's up to you as a coachee to do this or not to do, right? So this is outside of the classroom language coaching approach. Now I'm moving forward, and the third type is the thing we are using. I call it blended language coaching, when you use elements of life or well-being coaching tools in the language classrooms. This is, I would even call it a language design, a lesson design, which helps you as a coach or as a language educator to engage everybody, including yourself, to reduce learners and teachers' anxiety, to strengthen autonomy, subjectivity, communication skills, and to boost positive group dynamics. How it all started. So Gary McDaniel is an author and a writer, and at some point last year he started teaching philology students, business communication classes, and he has his book, which is called High Performance Coaching Activities. And at some point I noticed that Gary implements a lot of coaching tools in the classroom, and his book provides a set of various activities. For example, SMART goals, wheel of life, balance of life, a daily diary, what are your limiting beliefs, changing your beliefs, creating your bucket list. And all these practical exercises, I would say, are can be easily integrated into a language classroom. What we did next, because this book just, let's say, is provides some technical step-by-step elaboration of how to do this or that exercise. But what we did next, we developed this book. This is a mini presentation of the next book, by the way, which rearranged those technical exercises, coaching exercises, towards working worksheet templates, very colorful, very interactive, involving a lot of self-reflection. Normally, and this is a book which contains, let's say, about 30 working templates, which could be used in the language classroom. Including the balance of life, or, for example, again, back to theoretical foundation of coaching in languages, when you see your future self, right, and you develop which superhero would you like to become, and elaborate on your powers, why you chose these and that power to become a superhero. So this book contains a lot of different interactive templates. I'm going to dwell on one of them, for example, just to provide you like an in-depth experience. For instance, the first example is story of your success. So, by the way, I forgot to mention, we normally deal with large groups. It's not like a commercial language school environment. For example, at my speaking classes, I have up to 20 students. And that's why I was really motivated how to engage all of them. Normally, we would be printing those templates on A3 or A2, like a large format, and distributing them into mini groups of our students. Here they had to visualize an extremely successful future. Your company is a top-notch company in the world, and one of the top-notch magazines has decided to write a cover story about you. And so here the mini groups of students had to develop big headlines about themselves, by the way, about their success, what Elon Musk or Brad Pitt says about them in the quotes, the future plans of this company, success tips. It is a very positive assignment, and this is how it looks on the template. So again, you see that this is quite an interactive template and exercise. And then this is how it looks. This is how it looks in reality. Students use a lot of creative tools to develop such templates. They come up with crazy ideas about the company concept or the company mission. They do want to save the planet. They do want to become a better version of themselves. This was just one example out of, let's say, 30. Such projects or such assignments, first of all, are inclusive. I have accomplished this assignment with my lower level IT students who are just at their A2 level. I think they still managed to develop a story of success. This assignment could be could be inserted easily into the thread of different disciplines. I have used it for my integrated skills classes, or I'm not sure about grammar classes though. If you come up with a solution, please let me know. Seriously, here and just okay. Next, this activity and many other activities are adjustable to any content, whether you talk about career or travel or fitness. So it's adjustable to all kinds of content. Then different classroom management techniques. You could set your students, clump them into separate islands of working subgroups, or sometimes they choose individual work. Again, coaching approach, right? If you want to work individually, please good. And according to Scrivener, this provides you with some private contact time with students as a teacher, as a coach. When students work in different little subgroups together, what you do, you go around the class, you monitor, you sit with this group of people for a while, then you dash over to the next group. However, the students are so engaged, and this is a shout out to subjectivity, right, or causa sua. They talk about the topics which interest them, like they develop a mission of a company or a concept of a company which is up to their interest. However, because they work in a group, they have to negotiate, to empathize with each other. This is a shout out back to the skill set I was covering initially. They have to negotiate, they have to listen to each other, etc. Right? As a teacher, as a coach, by the way, the main coaching concept is not to give advice or not to, provide ready-made solution, but you can still monitor, facilitate, right? Observe, and you can even sit with talking about Scrivener's private contact time notion. You could just sit with some student who is like, let's say, introverts or something, while everybody else is engaged. You could sit with him, talk to him or her, provide this private contact time and some probably coaching, right? Okay, language teacher is an observer. What else here? Now some feedback from students when they have coaching activities in the classroom. I'm going to talk about research in a minute. However, the research will be conducted throughout next 3 weeks. If someone is sincerely interested, I will provide the findings of the research to you later. But preliminary opinions, like opinion poll of our students, and let's say this is more than 100 students by now, their quotes: such activities make us think deeper about choices in life, as well as about the language we choose when preparing this activity. they're free to use Google search and stuff to use more substantial language when they do this kind of projects. It's okay with me. Then it helps us see our choices in life more clearly. We are all actively engaged. We want more of such activities. Again, according to our observation, they use both higher communication skills, global skills I talked about before, and self skills like agency, subjectivity, etc. There are plenty of ideas for such templates, coaching and engaging and life coaching activities. Some of them are, for example, superhero, we talk about your superpowers, my history, your inner poet, finding your purpose. This is quite an interesting activity. A letter from the future self. By the way, these activities could be easily integrated into writing classes. I forgot to say that I also teach writing. You don't just teach them how to write an essay, but you again cluster them into mini groups and they work on a project together, and it's still a writing activity. My important relationship, gratitude tree. They could work on gratitude tree again, individually or in groups, whatever. My core values and etc. Okay. So more than 30 activities like coaching, life coaching activities. And I'm going to provide a short overview of the research we have prepared, but not yet conducted. So the foundation of this research, the main question is how a traditional classroom, the language classroom approach differs and why from the coaching classroom approach, right? And I have pasted here some basic questions. So step one, they've got to assess traditional classroom language learning approach when I teach them grammar step by step, one by one, exercise like sentence number one, you, sentence number two, next person. Okay, this is frontal approach, and I do it. Anyways, in the traditional framework, we've got to answer to this question, like foreign language, does this class or activity boost your foreign language communication skills, ability to work with others as a team, written skills, decision-making, analytical, problem-solving, sensitivity, emotional intelligence, empathy, all the things I have covered already. Step number two, the same evaluation table, but towards coaching approach. They all know by now, our students, because they distinguish. We have talked about it, so they do know when this is a coaching activity and when it's just basically traditional activity. So this is the research content, and a few more open-ended questions are added to this research. I will share those open-ended questions, and in case you're really interested as a teacher or language educator. And again, I will share the findings as soon as it is conducted. Now, we have 7 minutes left, but I do still have a couple of slides. I wanted to share a practical tool, back to pure language coaching though. Some of you could implement and to evaluate your goals and obstacles, and probably develop your action plan. So Anastasia, shall I stop now, or shall I continue for another, like, let's say at least 5 minutes?
I think you can go on. It's very interesting to see those practical tools, though I think that many will benefit from just having those tools.
Okay.
Yes,
all right. So it will contain some assignments for you guys, for both teachers and learners. Now, since I'm a linguist, I'm so sorry. I'm going to provide a short overview how, from the position standpoint of neurolinguistics, which explores brain activity, right? What happens when you acquire 2 more languages. does your brain get rewired? And so this is based on Professor Martin Hilberg's presentation. It's available on YouTube, you could watch it. So his main question was, does learning a second language rewire your brain? And some recent research showed that the Broca's areas in the brain, these are the areas which are responsible for acquiring and speaking more than one language. So the Broca's areas in the early learner's brain, to the left, on the left here, early learner's brain, on the right, sorry, has very much in common a lot of overlapping areas, meaning that this learner started learning multiple or two or more languages from an early age. We call them native learners, native bilinguals or multilinguals. So they've got languages springing out from the same area simultaneously. They don't have a problem switching over from language to language, right? Whereas a Broca's area in a late learner's brain sort of does things separately. Since I'm not a native bilingual, but I do operate at least 4 languages simultaneously, I was really interested, how could I boost, how could I improve myself so that I don't have that much gap between switching between languages, right? I do want this overlapping activity in my personal brain. Of course, well, I'm just kidding here. However, based on this presentation from neurolinguistics, Professor moved on by stating that there is a term, the language grid, which basically means the more you are exposed to this adult language, the more you practice it in time, the more you use it, the more fluency you attain in this language. We are talking about 3 languages at least, or 2 languages in your life. However, there is one more point, so that these things do start to overlap. And this is an activity for you guys. Fluency and proficiency depends on the amount of the domains of life where this or that language is used. So that professor, he is a speaker or a learner of German, obviously English, and French. And here is the wheel of balance, by the way. It's a coaching tool, everybody recognizes it. And he segmented it into different domains of his life. You could use your own segments. Obviously, these segments are important to this professor. It's like school, shops, administration, and you use a different color and a different depth, right? To draw like how active you are using this or that language in this domain. So the more you use it, the more like width you draw, right? You draw it like wider. The less, then the closer to the center. So here, I'm going to skip this. I'm going to share it later with you after the presentation. Here on top, I've got university, fitness, wellness, health, shops, administration. We've got to go to some offices, some town government, strangers, neighbors, friends, grandparents, at home, online, reading books. I would say also self-growth activities, okay, since we are all interested in self-growth, travel, at work. I operate like, let's say, 4 languages. So for example, English currently is covering all the spheres of my life. I would be just drawing it like from this wider perspective, covering almost everything. For instance, fitness, wellness, health is a very important issue in my life. And I tend to watch a lot of videos, like let's say, not only in English, but in Italian in this sphere. So I would be drawing in a different color here as well. So again, German, I think I use only, I should be using more of it. Reading books, let's say, and online, okay. Polish, by the way, I use a lot of Polish in shops, neighbors, like let's say friends, and university. So I would have a lot of different colors here, and I would have a very interesting picture. Seriously, do this activity later, and please feel free to change the segments. Like probably you don't need, like, I don't know, administration, just change it for something else. It provides a very good, clear picture, and the action plan, which you could develop after doing this activity. Again, this is pure language coaching, not the, however, life coaching as well to some extent. Is to develop an action plan, like how can I use my, I don't know, German more at work, at my university. Certainly there are some ways to do this, okay? So not just filling this thing out, but also developing an action plan. And I think, yeah, since I have been following quite a few polyglots online, sometimes I have a feeling, and I share this feeling with some language coaches, and they say, this is not, obviously, this is not like an, you know, it doesn't have to be 100% true. A skilled language coach who can provide you with a deeper experience is one who has learned multiple languages, or more than 2, for example. This is because there are elements of the process that need to be experienced to truly be understood. And some language coaches say that you don't even have to know that language. So a client or a student has asked you to help him out, right? You don't even have to know this language to provide some coaching tools. Really, you don't have to know the target language. This is just an opinion. This is just food for thought for you. I'm not sure whether I share it, right? And there is a famous, famous polyglot from Italy. I think he speaks about, fluently speaks 15 languages for sure. And he came up with some very interesting ideas. First, how to overcome obstacles. For example, you have to transform the mindset, so to see conversations as an opportunity rather than a risk. It's a nice coaching tool, I think. Then talk about what you want, and I truly relate. For example, I can talk about yoga for ages. You can't even stop me. Or about jogging. Why don't I talk about it in, okay, English, Italian, right? So when you truly, it's very important to start talking about yourself and about your passions in life, even if you're a beginner at language learning. The sooner you start speaking about your passions, the faster you acquire the language. This is how it works. It's brain activity, seriously. Then the last one is a very good one. I like it. Ingrain the language into your daily routine. It slightly relates to out of the classroom coaching tools I have covered before. However, since he operates quite a few languages, he has to keep the level. Let's say I operate Russian and English. I still want to keep my English at a good, decent level. Ingrain it into your everyday life. You have a coffee, okay, you watch some nice YouTube video of your interest in this language, or you have, let's say, what else? You come up with ideas, guys, by the way. So when you want to watch something about sports, you go watch it in Italian. I'm just brainstorming right now, okay? You want to practice more German, go out there downtown Wrocław and practice some German with the tourists. This is it. Thank you so much for your attention. I'm going to share the wheel of balance and domains of life activity. And also I'm going to share the bucket list activity, which is pure life coaching. And you're going to enjoy it. Love you.
Eugenia, I also have a question regarding these coaching activities. Just all these activities work best if there is some kind of either a reflection or follow-up questions. So yeah. Is anything like that or do you have anything like that in your book, or just
each activity is followed. I didn't have time for everything. Each activity is followed by a wrap-up session for sure, self-reflective questions, mostly developed by Professor McDaniel. And also this book, this fairy book, is going to be shaped from a Lingua perspective, so that it will contain some prep exercises before the activity, language prep exercises. And by the way, at this point, I do use mostly not ready-made vocabulary, because normally I ingrain those activities into whatever we already have, like in Headway, for example, or we watched this TED Talk or that TED Talk. They already know the vocabulary, and so they will be using it here. However, I also like scavenger hunting, which is let's say, self-motivated, self-driven activity when students search for necessary vocabulary online. You just shape your let's say a requirement or intention, or what we are working on, and you give them some carte blanche to search for necessary vocabulary. Yeah, wrap up for sure, it's included. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great. Guys, maybe you have some questions to Eugenia regarding language or coaching or...
I have one question. In accordance to your amazing presentation, Eugenia, people expect to get more, to get appreciated about what people do. Yes,
Right.
but in reality, we receive, get we more valuable in sociality or not?
So your question is, do you feel appreciated in such a language classroom? Is that correct?
No. In our life, no, not is in a classroom, not only in classroom. For example, we study English, yes,
right?
And we expected that my neighbor, for my neighbor, I become more valuable, yes, but in reality, become I more valuable or not, or it's only in my brain?
Oh, wow.
Do you understand?
Yes, I think it depends on your goals, if you want to become more available. So again, with your coach or as a you could apply some self-coaching for yourself. You could even work with fantastic goals, like very, very let's say crazy goals in your life. For example, you want to become a Hollywood star, and maybe it's not your goal, but somewhere at the back side of your mind you think like, hey, why not? Why don't I become a Hollywood star? You could apply the GROW model, work on your goals, obstacles, develop your action plan even towards this. And it does work because it provides a much wider dimension for sure. It may or may not happen, but just by doing this, you still notice some things about yourself already that that, for example, even if you have such a bold goal, big one, right? That's already telling you a lot about your own self, that you can dream big, that you can act big, right? And it depends on you whether your neighbor will become more or less available to you. If you overcome your fears, you will start talking to him more, or engaging in some common activities, become more friendly, empathize with each other, and at some point you will notice that, my neighbor is paying attention to me. He stopped by and said hi, then he invited me for beer and stuff. Okay. Did I answer your question or not?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikolai. You're always, I remember you always ask really challenging and interesting questions.
Very interesting. Thank you so much.
Yeah, guys, anyone else would like to ask Eugenia anything? I will definitely create some kind of follow-up, as I always do after our workshops. So you will be able to read it again in our community helpline group for the key ideas that were mentioned by Eugenia. So thank you very much, Eugenia, for sharing. We really, I got empowered again. I started to think about what and how I'm going to do with my students. So thank you so much. Also, very useful tools. We're looking forward to having the results of your research, and also good luck with the book. Any ideas when it might be published or finished? I don't know whether it has been finished yet or not. We're still in progress.
Let's think about summer. I would assume summer.
Okay, so fingers crossed.
Thanks so much. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So enjoy your evening.
Hope to see you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Yes, everyone, goodbye. Thank you for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. Just if you like the workshop or just your feedback, please give me a line, text me a line. I will be sharing it with Eugenia, or maybe not. I don't know.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye, guys.